Click! It was about time that I updated my Thief World record with all the new tech. Well, the 3 new tech, but damn it, they're important. As before though, we are putting the points into magic, we need access to the zap spell, and we need the mana to cast it. What bird? So unlike the wizard run that I uploaded the other day, this one doesn't need to get the staff. You can basically go straight to the end game, which is what we're going to be doing. We're going to start by setting the speed to maximum and the detail to low, as usual. We don't need to touch the skill slider this time around though, because there's no cutscene that needs to be increased in speed, and actually leaving skill at medium turns out to be a good thing, and I'll explain that once we get to the Lost City. So, since we don't actually have to do anything, we're just going straight to bed. Yes, our glorious hero arrives in Tarna, says I'm tired, and goes to bed. For 2 days. Which brings us to bed tech, which is the first of the new improvements for this run. Used to be you had to left-click the bed very quickly and press escape at a certain rhythm in order to rest. We found out that you can actually just hold enter and then drag the cursor from the bed to the 60 minutes icon. This is actually more consistent than the previous method, quite substantially so. And once in a while it's actually faster as well. It's not a huge time save usually, but the fact that it's so consistent means that you can actually get out of this bed tech thing very quickly and very reliably. You just get more runs in. Now, at the end of this final stretch of bed tech, I'm going to animation cancel the final sleep. Usually you go back to sleep before the meeting, but you can actually cancel out of that by clicking on the pillow and selecting rest just before you get there. This breaks the animation and you can leave the room. Now, this does have a downside. Normally, this meeting happens in the morning after you've been to bed. But since we cancelled out of that animation and never slept, the world now is in perpetual darkness, which is kind of hard to see, especially for a video, so I'm going to do this. Okay, it's time for David's do-gooder ditch. This scripted sequence can be interrupted like this. Yeah, turns out when you enter this screen, there is a very small window of time in which you can actually input a move command, which is what we've done. We're bypassing the village, we're walking past it right now actually. Yeah, we're not gonna talk to the Simbani or the Leopard Men or do anything really. We're just gonna move on, go through the jungle all the way to the endgame areas. Breaking out of the Escort script like this actually has 2 consequences. One is we don't get any random encounters. The game still thinks we're being escorted, so it doesn't give us any. The other happens on the very next screen. And now we're being escorted by Manu, the endgame NPC. Because we never actually finished the Escort script on the previous screens, the game thinks we're still being escorted and it looks for a valid target. On this screen, that's Manu, who is now taking us to the monkey village. Here we need to convince Manu to go with us to the Lost City, since only he knows the way. He doesn't want to go, so we have to persuade him. Some other classes can actually put more points into communication, which has a chance of convincing Manu to go with you faster. Thief cannot do that though. You need the full set of 30 magic, because you need the full set of mana. We actually end the game with practically 0. Sadly, Thief doesn't have a waterfall skip. He's the only class that doesn't. It's not a big deal. He actually crosses the waterfall very quickly. There's no need to wait for Manu to do anything. You're basically just using the grappling hook to cross. But it is more fun when you're playing the wizard and you can go out of bounds. Even the fighter can go out of bounds now. I think the Thief feels a bit left out. I also discovered a little mini-skip. When you're running away from the bad thing on the next screen, the exits are normally locked, but if you cast Flame Dart, they unlock and you can run away really, really quickly. We'll do that here. As soon as the Flame Dart hits, we can actually start running away. Normally, we'd have to sit through a longer cutscene until we were able to run away. It only saves 4 seconds-ish. It's not a long cutscene, but it's nice to know it's here. Okay, I'm going to set this up ahead of time. There's no cutscene skip or anything for the Lost City, so you're just gonna watch me do some puzzles for a bit. The thing that happens next is I'm going to be fighting one of the demons in here, Frick, one of the guards. Normally, in the previous incarnation of this run, we would witness the Harami cutscene back in town, we would exchange money with the money changer, and we would buy a flask of oil so that we could sneak past this demon. That process took about 50 seconds or so, but it was still necessary to do, because there was no way to fight both Frick the guard inside, as well as Mike Tyson the super demon who is possessing Rikasha. You couldn't fight both. However, just yesterday, I found a way to ensure 100% hit chance against any enemy in combat. And unlike the zappy stabby method of using zap to accomplish this, you can do this without expending mana. This lets us do this nonsense, and all it is pressing 595. There's a certain rhythm to it. You essentially have to wait for his hit stun to mostly wear off before you can actually land another hit, and that causes me to miss a couple of hits here. But it's still very powerful, and you can do this against any enemy. Killing him takes only 27 seconds compared to the 50 seconds of getting the oil. It's not the full story though. Mike Tyson here has full life, whereas if you bypass Frick, he only has half. Because you killed Frick, the game assumes you're a fighter instead of a thief, so yeah, Mike Tyson here is harder as a result of what we just did. The extra hit points he has costs us about 9 seconds, which adds to it, but it's no big deal. Zappy Stabby takes care of it, and we end with absolutely no mana. Yeah, that's the fun of this route, I think. The fact that you actually have just enough mana to cast Flame Dart so you can evade the bad thing faster, and just enough mana left over to fully kill Mike Tyson with Zappy Stabby. It's kind of delightful. You really do end with nothing. But we don't need mana from here, so we're all good. Well, while this unskippable cutscene is going on for a full minute, I can explain Zappy Stabby since I didn't have time to do that. Zappy Stabby is essentially you cast Zap from the magic menu, and you immediately swap over to the combat menu, without actually pressing any combat inputs. For some reason, swapping between them makes Zap land a hit every time. We don't know why this happens, it's really strange. 5 is supposed to only swap between the menus, but for some reason, if you cast Zap and then swap, you just land a hit automatically. This is a consistent way of dealing damage, but it does cost mana, so you essentially have to spend it wisely, which is why we do that against Mike Tyson, who is by far the deadlier of the two guards. We took a fair bit of damage from the two demons. That was deliberate, and it's why we set the skill slider to medium, because it works out this way. If you take 2 or 3 hits from the two demons in total, you start this upcoming fight with low life. This is a supposed to lose fight, and if you enter the fight with low life, it practically ends as soon as it begins. And now for the final screen of the game, where we can actually go out of bounds. Usually you have to do a whole bunch of puzzling here, but we're just gonna skip all that by clicking on this rock, moving out of bounds, selecting the final input, and hitting the wizard for a 752.4. The wizard basically gets dragged into the demon gate, and all is well. And we just skipped a whole bunch of puzzle solving, just by going out of bounds in the very final room. Yeah, this is why Thief is just a lot faster than all the other classes. You don't have to get the staff or anything like that, and the final room can be beaten by just going out of bounds. There's no extra puzzling involved. It's very quick. There's also no RNG, really, in this run. It's just the damage values from hitting Frick the Demon when you're doing Stabby Stabby. That's the only real RNG point of this run. Everything else is fairly deterministic, so it's just a matter of execution. It's a really good run overall, and I largely enjoy it. This is now the world record by a significant margin. The runner-up is still Lemming with an 8:41, I think it is. And OneShortEye actually made a good video about that. It's worth checking out if you're interested in the run overall. He's a much better speaker than I am. Oh, right, we're done. Thanks for watching, folks. See ya.